So we're going to look at how to use the channel mixer in Photoshop to make a black and white image using it'll be a filter layer on the image. Let me show layers here. So we've got layers. We're going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Channel Mixer. Okay, and we'll get a Properties dialog that will allow us essentially to drag the red, green, blue components of the brightness around. So if I pull it red down, I'll get much less red. Now, this would be pretty ugly looking in color, so we're going to click the monochrome box, and now we can emphasize or de-emphasize or emphasize the red, green, or blue components. So let me put that back. I'm going to say, let's say we want to darken the blue sky. We could grab the blue slider and pull it down, and you can see everything goes darker because this is a blue dominant image. Now, sometimes you don't have a blue dominant image, so it's just going to do the sky, so that can be very useful. I don't particularly like that here, but maybe I want a little darker sky. And maybe I want to brighten the whole thing green. I'll typically pull it up. Okay, now let's pull the blue down a little more. Maybe work that green. What you're going to essentially mix and match the way these colors fit together in terms of their brightness, luminance, and produce a black and white image that way. Now, I used to use this for most of my black and white conversions, but what I found is that while this can actually give you some pretty nice control under some conditions, I tend to use the black and white filter layer most of the time now. That's covered in another video. It's the same concept, but instead of mixing the color channels, you're controlling the more colors with sliders. And also, these color channels are dependent on the color space you're in. So if I go to and say convert to profile, the color channels in ProPhoto RGB are different than, say, in Adobe RGB. And that will have an effect on how you mix this stuff. You could only see a slight change there, but in some cases it will make a very large effect. So I recommend this approach if you have an image whose color components of reddish, greenish, and bluish things are fairly distinct. It can give you a level of control you might not get elsewhere. But I would try the black and white filter layer first, which is covered in other areas. The other thing is always make sure you're working in image mode 16-bit, because when you start converting these color channels to grayscale, you can get some weird clipping and tonal transition issues. So I had already set it to that, but make sure it's in 16 bits. In fact, if you look up in the sky, you'll see these like arcs, and I believe those might be the display or they might be the image. I think I can't actually tell in this display. My other one's better. It might be because of the degree of adjustment you've done. You can start getting these weird effects. So, and you're going to have horrible time with iPhone or something. You got to really use a high quality camera to do this kind of thing with images. I've tried it with iPhone images, and they're complete garbage. They rapidly turn into banding and posterization and nasty stuff. Also, notice there's a contrast slider down here, so you can make it low contrast like this, or you can really yank it around. So there's a lot of play you can do here, and you just have to develop habits over time. Play with those and see what you think, but I think the black and white filter layer covered in another video is probably a better choice most of the time. And by the way, this is not destructive. If I click off this layer, there's our color image. So the advantage of Photoshop adjustment layers is they're totally non-destructive. And you could have multiple layers here and try each one and see which one you like the best without having to do anything to your original image. All right, that's that.